This is Dwight Ballantyne, and this is the Ballantyne Project. Join me and Strawberry on the Bridge House tour in the background while I introduce Dwight. Dwight grew up in northern Saskatchewan on a reserve called Montreal Lake Cree Nation with a population of 1,200 people. He understands firsthand how challenging it can be for young Indigenous people to leave their reserve for the first time to live in a city. So he founded the Ballantyne Project, where he brings on-reserve youth from across Canada to Maple Ridge so they may leave their reserve for the first time with confidence. Think about getting a bank account, catching a bus, looking at used cars, school campus tours, and creating a financial plan for the first time. We take so many things for granted that young Indigenous people on reserve have never experienced, and Dwight is playing a huge part in changing that. I hope you enjoyed the episode.
When I see the youth come here, I'm like, you kids are spoiled. I wish I wish I had this when I was younger. Maybe this is why we go back to the reserve, because we don't know how to navigate the city. Why do we have to leave our family in order to be successful? It is bigger than me. When I was 24, I had an opportunity to go play hockey for Team Canada.
I'm taking money from the res, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I gotta do this right.
Where you feel like you're not even making a difference, that kind of motivates me even more.
Yeah, I'm 3 generations removed from residential schools, and I feel like privileged in that. You know, like you're saying, you're 1 generation.
But I think I just wanted more. I was willing to say bye to my family in order to get what I wanted for myself. Thankfully, I had hockey as an escape to help me withstand the hardships of first moving to a city. I know what I want to do, but I know I can't do it. This is what it's meant for, a safe space to make sure kids don't end up on the street or in a gang or anywhere else. Like, they never empty their voicemails.
So empty your voicemails so like to leave another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Ani Bojo, everybody. My name is Bailey Walkie. I'm the founder of Frayed Feathers and the host of the Frayed Feathers podcast. I am joining you today, and you are joining me today in a very special place. We are at the Ballantyne Project in Maple Ridge, and I'm here with the founder, Dwight Ballantyne, and we're just going to have a lovely conversation. We're going to bring you folks along for the ride, and I'm going to pass it over to Dwight. Dwight, could you please introduce yourself?
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Bailey. My name is Dwight Ballantyne. I am the founder of the Ballantyne Project. I have been running I guess you could say, the project for the past 5-6 years. I grew up in Montreal Lake Cree Nation Treaty 6 for 21 years of my life, and I had an opportunity to move to BC when I was 21. I took the leap of faith, and the rest is history. I call Maple Ridge my home now. I've been living here the past 10 years, I would say.
Thanks so much, Dwight. And so we are here at the Ballantyne Project headquarters, per se, and it's honestly quite beautiful. We're in Maple Ridge, so just surrounded by nature. It's an extravagant building, and I just want to pass over to Dwight here. If I was to ask you, like, what is the feeling, or how would you describe the Ballantyne Project atmosphere, the vibe here? What's the first thing you say to people?
The first thing to say is it's a big house. That's my first thought. I still can't explain how it feels in here. The feeling is, I don't know, it feels calm. This is basically our office. It's hard to leave here during the day because it's so nice. It has 7 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. It was meant for 4 families, of course, but as the Ballantyne Project, we fell in love with this place. It felt like no other, and we just wanted to put it out all in a line, take another leap of faith as the Ballantyne Project to secure a house so we can house Indigenous youth for weeks at a time to come to BC to see life outside of the reserve.
Yeah, and I can totally attest to this vibe. You come in here, it's so welcoming, and a big part of it, I think, is the atmosphere that you and Denise create. Just such welcoming people. And I remember first hearing about you folks, really hearing about you and not really knowing much about Denise and her role in everything. And we'll get to Denise's role a little bit later. But I felt so inspired seeing all the work that you folks were doing. And from the outside, like, I'm really only I'm seeing the highlights, right? Like what's happening on LinkedIn and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But once we got to know each other, really seeing all the background work that's happening, and really getting a more a peek behind the curtain per se about like how we got here, right? Because you folks have been doing this for years, right? Like this is like you're upwards, like you're like over 5 years doing this kind of stuff, right?
6, yep.
Yeah. But you've just got this house, like
As of April this year.
Yeah. And so I remember you folks telling me the stories of you driving the countryside, hours and hours, just to talk and gain an audience with some First Nations leaders to share your vision and just like making this thing work. So I guess like my question to you is like, how the heck does one get all the way here where we're sitting in this lovely living room and we're able to have this podcast and stuff? Like, how did we get here?
Well, I just appeared.
Yeah, it's done.
No, I guess the first 2 years, 3 years of my journey of living in BC, I was working at a mill, of course, before I started public speaking and founding the Ballantyne Project. I think it was a culture shock. I thought people knew a lot about life on reserve, the effects of residential school. But when I came here, I tell the story a lot. Walked into a dressing room, hockey room, and I had a white buddy ask me what's a reserve. And I didn't know what to say because I thought people knew. And then as life went on, people kept asking what's a reserve, what's a residential school, and all this stuff. And then out of frustration and I guess inspiration as well, that I wanted to put myself out there. I realized there wasn't much young people like me at the time that was sharing about life on reserve, like the actual raw stuff like drugs, alcohol, suicide, all the challenges and barriers that go on reserve. And I just felt invisible, that nobody knew these issues, and I took the initiative from myself to do the biggest thing that scared me the most was public speaking. That was the biggest thing that scared me the most, but I just felt like wanting to do something, and I said, okay, I'm gonna start sharing my story. I didn't know where it was gonna lead. It was just organic, and it just happened. I do one presentation here in Maple Ridge. I didn't even know what I was presenting at the time. It was like my first presentation, and it was like 50 people, and I was like shitting my pants basically, having to go to the bathroom and wash my face with water. But when I did that presentation, I was still working at the mill. And as time went on, schools kept hearing about my story. I always say that I didn't value my story, but somehow word got out around the lower mainland of BC and said, you need to get this guy to come speak. And I didn't know what it was at the time. My mill was always getting mad at me for taking days off. And then my BC mother at the time, Denise, told me at 24, like, if you're getting these requests, like, you got to start a business. And like, the word business, entrepreneur is so foreign when you come from a reserve that I didn't even know you could start your own business. So then my BC mother has a very good business background, and she knew, I guess she believed in what I wanted to do, so we both quit our jobs and went full force with the Ballantyne Project, just starting off with doing presentations, and that's where it was. Mm-hmm. That's where it is.
Word. And so why did you feel like you're calling from that moment of being in the locker room with your homie, like, did you feel the need to do public speaking rather than going like a different route where like it maybe wouldn't be so nerve-wracking? Because you said like public speaking is like makes you nervous or made you nervous.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't feel a need. I just felt frustrated actually, and actually back it up to when I was 24. I had an opportunity to go play hockey for Team Canada in Amsterdam, which was basically where it all started. I played a lot of hockey growing up, and that's all I did, so I guess I was really into it. And I got to go play, and we came in first. But I remember it was on that flight back, I was looking out the window, 13-hour flight, and I just had so many, I guess, thoughts, ideas. I didn't know where I was going to go with it. But why don't we get these opportunities? Like, all these people who live in urban settings have opportunities, and I'm like, living on a reserve, like, we don't have these opportunities, and why do we have to leave our family in order to be successful or do whatever it is we want? So I was a big believer in stepping out of my comfort zone. And on the res, we used to rap battle each other, so I was kind of good with speaking, but not in front of people. It was just a group of us, and then
Oh, I
it
see, like
turned
all
in,
the homies just like rap battle each other.
yeah, drunk rap
Just
battles,
dissing each other.
basically. So I was like good with speaking in a way, but I just didn't know how to present myself, sharing my story, because yeah, like, all on reserve, like, there's really not much to talk about. We all live it, but I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna do something, and I'm gonna share my story, and because I didn't see anybody else sharing the raw stuff that goes on reserve. It's all whitewashed, and every school I've been in, I've been told that there's not much Indigenous curriculum. And I realized that. I'm like, okay, well, there is a need here. I know there's people who share the stories of residential school, but I think from a young perspective, teachers kind of seen that. And then I realized, as I was doing these presentations, I was talking to elders, and they basically not mentored me, but pushed me. Like, there was times I wanted to quit so many times because you can only make a dent in Canada for so long. And I just felt like, share this, stop being a pussy. If you feel something big, make sure you do it. And I've always thought about that. I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but I think just forcing myself into the uncomfortable zones of sharing my story to educate people, that's basically where it came from, was flying home and then having these thoughts. I'm like, okay, I need to talk to my BC mother, maybe she can help me. And yeah, I didn't think I would make it this far, because the average businesses only last like 3 to 4 years, sometimes even less, but we're on year 6. Yeah, so I've been having a lot of mentorship from my BC mother and local Indigenous elders who have stuff to say, like, keep going, share your story, it needs to be told. You know, telling my story all the time, I got sick of it, but having the elders say, you're doing a good job, like, okay, I can do this for us. The story is bigger than me, it's about us. So yeah, out of frustration, that's where I'm like, okay, do something that you're scared to do. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but here I am.
Yeah, for sure. We made it. And were you like surprised by how much value people got from hearing your story, like both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people?
Well, I was scared to speak to Indigenous people because, we always make fun of each other, basically. So yeah,
Respect.
Yeah. So I'm like, and I was speaking to white crowds, like white schools, and it was like, it's all white people and like diverse people, not much natives. But yeah, I feel like when I started talking about the drugs, the alcohol, the suicides, you know, just drinking at a young age, being locked in a room while your parents drink, basically. I never used to talk about that because I thought schools wouldn't like that. But it turns out kids like the raw, authentic res guy. So when I let people know, like, you're getting the raw Dwight, you're gonna hear F-bombs, you're gonna hear humor, you're gonna hear dark jokes. We make fun of each other. You know, laughter is medicine. So then, yeah, I started talking about that with white audiences, and then I just became, I don't know, it became very, I guess it became my job. I got used to it. Yeah.
I see. And do you feel like you have like a whole system to presenting now, or do you just like show up and rock up?
I have a presentation I have slides on. So I introduce myself, and yeah, it's not charts and graphs. You know, when your presentation, kids don't like that. So yeah, I'm just sharing a story and letting people know. It's always the same slides, but I present my words in different ways each time to keep myself guessing and to not say the same thing all the time.
For sure. And you never know when there's going to be like a better way to tell the story, you know, like, and then one day you say it in a way you didn't intend to, and you're like, oh, it actually kind of like that, you know, and you keep it and, you know, moves on to the next one.
Yeah, I know, like right now, for example, like, I don't look nervous, but you know what? There's always nerves behind this, and I'll probably watch it and say, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. But you know what? That's the authentic part. It's like, okay, like, you know, just be yourself, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, for sure. I hear you. I mean, even here, sitting here, listening to you, I'm like, should I be doing something with my hands? You know what I mean? But like, really, just happy to listen. And I think like that's, you know, just going to be always the thing, right? You always look back and maybe I looked a little bit too weird over there, but whatever. Such is life. But you said something really, just something I want to talk about. You mentioned like you're sharing your story, but it's also like our story. You know?
Yes.
And I totally empathize with that. And so like when you think of your story, how common do you feel like your story is like across Canada, like as being like a res kid, the challenges you had, the things you had to overcome, and yeah, just like your story in general. Like, do you find like it's like a common thing for other people to have similar stories?
Like, what do you mean?
So, for example, like you're talking about like your experience on the res, you know, being surrounded by drugs and alcohol, you know, being left in the room for parents to drink and stuff. Like, in sharing that and feeling that it's our story, like, do you feel like there's a lot of other kids going through like the same things that you went through?
Absolutely, absolutely. To this day, that's why I do what I do now. Is because the older I get, I start to realize that it is bigger than me. I'm not just sharing my story, I'm sharing our story. Those res kids that don't want to speak. That's why I feel like speaking about these things is like the hardest thing to do, which is why we stay quiet and we don't ask for help. So to this day, I feel like a lot of people don't share their stories because they're afraid of judgment. For me, I have to look at myself in the mirror and say, this is not your story, this is your people's story. And that's what motivates me to keep sharing what I need to share because, yeah, this is Canada. And yeah, I have cousins who are in that same position. And that's, you know, it kind of breaks my heart sometimes, being away from home and knowing what's going on, not being there. But I also know I have to be selfish in order to keep doing what I'm doing because this work can be so heavy. I'm sure you know how it is, how heavy it can be having to talk about, you know, us as Indigenous people and going into these white spaces where you feel like you're not even making a difference. That kind of motivates me even more because I want to educate people and I just want them to know that there is an invisible segment of people like us who don't talk or share these, or even get the opportunity to share these stories, basically.
For sure, for sure. And I feel like what I'm like getting from what you're saying is like there's like a strong like sense of duty, like amongst not only yourself and like myself and just people like us in this space, but also like amongst just Indigenous youth in general. Like something I feel like I notice all the way from, you know, the people who have very little to give to the Indigenous people who have a lot to give. Like there is always a sense of duty of like we need to like give back to our people. We need to bring our community or bring our assets to our community. Like I know you were just mentioning there about like feeling guilty, you know, like that you're like away from your community, but like there is like a necessary part of your journey, which is, you know, as you described, to be selfish, but you know, like it's because of that sense of duty that like I'm imagining that you're feeling selfish. Like I'm inferring that because I feel kind of the same way as like, you know, like even like getting like sponsorship from a res, it's like I'm taking money from the res, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I gotta do this right, you know what I mean? And like, and if I don't, like, then that means some other kid didn't get to go to school and they might have done it right, you know what I mean? Like there's so much like
it's a good perspective.
Pressure, you know, like, and Yeah, so like I totally get that. Like, do you feel like that sense of duty, and like and also not only for yourself but also amongst like your peers, do you feel that?
Yeah, duty is a good word. Responsibility, I would say. Only because I know how far I've gotten in this journey. I'm sure you understand when you're like having to be the guy to do this, and when you're in these spaces, it's a tough fight, but you know what you're doing it for. Like when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing it for. It was just like educating non-Indigenous people about life on reserve. But as time went on, I was getting invited to communities, First Nations communities across the country, and speaking to the elders changed my perspective on what my responsibility is because I know we are the first generation of kids who didn't go to residential school, and I'm like, you know, that was not long ago, and understanding where I'm at in life now and understanding the elders, like, it kind of feels like a responsibility now. Yeah, so that's where it is.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally empathize. Like for me, I'm 3 generations removed from residential schools, and I feel like privileged in that. You know, like you're saying, you're 1 generation. Like, you know, like there's so much, and I can see. I feel like I have the privilege to look at those 3 generations of people and like kind of see how things have changed. You know what I mean? But you're in a situation where you're almost like, you're like that beacon of change almost. You know what I mean? Like you could easily be seen as like the person that is like the turning point of the intergenerational trauma, the 7 generations, right? We always hear that, like residential schools did so much damage, it's like going to hurt 7 generations of people. And I know growing up, for me, I was always like, well, I want to nip that in the bud. Like I want to be like 3 generations, you know what I mean? And like in that being like, you know, an altruistic vision and goal and stuff like that, it's a burden to bear, to be honest. Like I feel like it's like I heard this saying one time. I don't know if this is like totally accurate to the quote, but it was like trauma will continue through generations until someone's willing to feel it, and I just feel as though wanting to be the person to do right by the next generation has forced me to look into myself in ways that I don't feel as though other folks are forced to do. You know what I mean? And like I don't like that doesn't mean like I'm better than anybody. It just means that like we're dealt a little bit of a heavier hand. You know, we consider the historical context of colonization, and so. You know, I don't want any handouts, and I'm not here to, like, you know, get any sympathy from anybody, but it is a recognition of that. And I think that that's something that I'm always trying to communicate to, well, anybody in the space when we talk about reconciliation is like equity, right? Like it's not equality, or like not everybody should get the exact same thing. Like Indigenous people were historically targeted to have, you know, bad things done to them. Let's just keep it PG. And now we need to be equitable and offer an overwhelming amount of positive things to these communities in order for them to catch up, so to speak. And so, you know, like my question to you is like, when you like have this kind of message to bring to people, like how do you communicate that, like equity? Like how do we like, we have to do more for Indigenous people, but we don't want to be like, they're like on a pedestal or something like that. Like, do you feel like you kind of have to like balance that in your talks?
That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, I resonate with not having handouts. I talk a lot about our people, but we can be our own worst enemies sometimes. Like, one thing I say is a lot is, you know, growing up on reserve, we have these dreams and stuff. We don't really get to do them. But being where I am now, understanding the history of our people and having the opportunity to be who I am and make the the choices I'm allowed to make. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't allowed to make choices back then. So I look at that and I'm like, I'm very lucky to be where I'm at, to not have to go through that, but also to carry the story to let people know that it's not the past. It still happens in other ways, and that's what doesn't get talked about. And yeah, people, when I share my story, I feel like white people, like, they feel guilty. They don't want to ask the wrong thing. But also, I don't like share, like, I mean, I talk a lot about heavy stuff, but it's not a sob story. I like to let people know, even though this is going on, you can still do something to make a difference. Like, we have a lot of allies who want to make a difference. That's cool. But yeah, I'm not putting us on a pedestal, but we are the custodians of the land, like, so I kind of want to just keep it positive and give back to people, to youth on reserve, because we get the shitty end of the stick. And I'm not saying that as a negative way, I'm just saying it's facts. And I believe in self-determination where you can change that. Yeah, so I feel like I'm very privileged and lucky to not have to go through some of the stuff our elders had to go through, which gives me makes me feel like this is a responsibility now. So it's right. I'm at the point of no return. Like, even if I wanted to stop speaking, I just can't. I'm too deep. I'm
like, just like that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, for sure, respect. What were we just talking about there? Oh, I had a great question. It'll come to me. Give me a second here. You were talking about speaking, talking about the not stopping, short end of the stick. You know what? It's completely lost me. So I'm just going to move on to my next question. Yeah. So in thinking about, like, the young advocate, right? The young Indigenous person. Oh, sorry. We were talking about self-determination. You were talking about self-determination.
Yes.
And so I feel like your story is like a beacon or a shining example of self-determination, because I feel like you just decided not to live on reserve. You know what I mean? Like, of course, like, there's like reasons why you could make that decision, but you just kind of like decided to just do it, and you just kind of like rode the wave and just like never really stopped riding, to be honest. Now we're here. Yeah. And so could you like kind of walk me through the like what's happening in your mind and heart? Like, what's like your thoughts and feelings making such a decision to leave the reserve and to just do your thing in the city?
I think stubbornness. I think being an only child, having too much time to think, drinking with my buddies, cousins back home. We always have these conversations when you're young, when you're able to dream, basically, because a lot of kids on reserve don't get to dream. But it stemmed to us having these conversations, like, this is before we were drinking. We were like, what would you do if you left the reserve? What do you want to do when you get older? Like, what do you want to be? And I'm like, well, the older you get, there's not much to see, not much to do. And I would say I was fortunate to play hockey. It gave me experiences to leave the reserve and see what was out there. And I don't know, I think just in my teenage years, I just kept seeing the same cycle of drugs and alcohol. I've seen the smartest kids graduate and try to navigate the city in post-secondary. Some would make it, some wouldn't, and it turned into, back to the cycle of drugs and alcohol. And then, when I turned 18, I got my first job. I really wanted to get a job. I'd seen way too many people on reserve living on welfare and got comfortable. So I kind of just took it upon myself to really try and do something. Like, for me, I encourage people to leave the reserve, but I also encourage people to stay. It's totally up to them. But for me, I've seen myself somewhere else, not in a reserve. Like, I miss my family, but the environment of the lateral violence, like I fight the fight because for our people, but man, we could be harsh to each other on reserve. Like the amount of robberies, people getting beat up, killed, and it's always from a Native person. So that's what the lateral violence part made me want to say fuck this, and I want something different. Like, I would say I was always trying to do the things that we once talked about as kids. And that dream dies when you're a young kid. And I didn't want that dream to die. So I kind of I didn't think I was going to be in BC, I'll put it that way. I had a thought I was going to be in Prince Albert, Saskatoon, I sucked at school. I knew I was good with my hands, and I was going to go for like carpentry or heavy equipment, follow my dad's footsteps, which is pretty good. He's got a stable job. But I think I just wanted more. I wanted more, and living on reserve, having the lack of clothes, food, and the opportunities, I was willing to say bye to my family in order to get what I wanted for myself. And that was the most selfish thing that I had to do. And, I'm a big believer in self-determination, like yourself. You're doing what you need to do. And, you leave people behind, you leave environments behind that you once loved, once knew, but change is good. And that's what I wanted. I wanted change. That's what really inspired me, was having the opportunity to leave the reserve, stay in hotels, play hockey, and I'm like, I could see myself living in a city.
Playing some hockey.
Yeah, like as a kid, like, okay.
Hit the ODR.
Yeah, and then you realize as you get older, you get a job and you can't play as much hockey as you want.
yeah. Word up. So in like having that experience, like being a young kid, talking about what's life going to be like, and when you're an adult and stuff like that. I'm actually in the middle of, I'm actually just on the second season of Res Dogs. So this is like very timely. Can you help me and other folks understand, like, what are some of the other stories you've witnessed of like youth leaving the reserve and like finding their own path? Like we have yourself, and I'm sure you have some other people in your life who have done similar things, and like what kind of like after you make the decision of like going into the city, what's like the initial challenges that people run into? What's like their thoughts and feelings? What's going on for that person?
I was very fortunate because I came here with a program, but one of the things that I would say, as simple as it is, walking into a white store, man, like catching a bus, like the culture shock, like I thought I was ready to take it on, but when you get here, it's like, maybe this is why we go back to the reserve, because we don't know how to navigate the city, and you don't have community, like
Call up your homie, like, how do you catch a bus?
And like even just your people, like when I'm with, like, for example, right now, like my people, like it was lonely. Like there's so many things I didn't know what to do, but I was fortunate enough to have them, like get a bank account. Like kids don't have bank accounts. Like simple as getting an eye exam. I didn't get my eyes examined until I moved here. I didn't even know I was blind. I have contacts on. But
you have like a substantial prescription as well, right? Like you were not like reading glasses. Like you need glasses.
Yeah, like actual glasses. Well, it was actually my BC mother. She said, because I was sitting like this and looking at TV, and she was like, maybe this kid needs an eye exam. And I'm like, I see just fine. I'm like, okay, I can still snipe a goal here and there.
Yeah, like hockey, I'm good.
Yeah, but then she took me to the eye exam place, and I I didn't know I had double vision. And I
So
was,
did like nobody clock it like growing up either, like that you were like having a hard time seeing or anything?
no, we used to make fun of people who had glasses. I think that was one of the other
You're
reasons.
like, actually, great. This is awesome. I'm like so, I can see 2020.
Yeah. So we used to make fun of people who had glasses, and I'm like, maybe that's the reason why I didn't. But then I got my learners, and I realized you have to get your glasses. But I'm like, I didn't even have my learners when I moved here, so I'm like, I don't need it. And then one day she took me to the eye exam, and I'm like, holy shit. How did I see? How did I not? Yeah, I was like actually overwhelmed that I could see the details of a tree and not have to squint. Like it was like, I wish I had this. And on reserve, we don't think about it. Like you have to pay money to go to the city, and I'm like, we don't have money.
Yeah.
Then like dentists, when I came here, I had bad teeth as well. Like, some of them are fake, but whatever. That's just how bad they were. Like all these little things that I didn't know I needed to do when I first moved to the city. And yeah, that was basically what I see it as, like getting a bank account, how to catch a bus, how to budget, because you don't have a family member to help you. Like you can't just go to the living room and say, hey grandma, what is this for? Like you're alone. Unless you have a support system, you're good. But yeah, just the simple things of catching a bus, these little things that I guess white people take for granted was the scariest things for me, because we don't know this world until we know it.
Yeah, for sure. And so you get here, you finally become sufficient, all the infrastructure, your personal infrastructure, meaning like your bank account, like you know how to travel to and from work, you have a job, all this and that. Like, how does one build community in a place that they are like just like learning how to be in?
Like in an urban setting?
Yeah, like how like after like let's say it takes 6 months or something, like you're kind of like you figure it out. You're like, okay, I'm here. I'm in the city. I'm like good, I'm stable. Like I got like, maybe a little bit of savings, but I'm like, damn, I'm so lonely. I like miss my friends. Like what are young Indigenous people doing from the res whenever they get to the city and they want to build community? Like how does one do that?
Well, I remember like just as Prince Albert is an hour away, like if you don't have positive influences, it could go really bad. Like, like a lot of Indigenous kids who go to the city end up in a gang or in jail, and which could be good or bad. Like when I say it could be good, you can build community. You can go to a friendship center. You can find Indigenous resources. For me, just going to the leisure center, like meeting white people, but then you still feel like something's missing. So you kind of want to be with your people, but if you don't know where to find them, like it's hard to create community. And it was hard for me to create community when I first moved here, but thankfully that I was in a program that was for Indigenous people. I found that community was helped out a lot. It was when I was done the program, was when it was like, okay, you're on your own now. Like you have to go get a job. Like the program's done. And I'm like, okay, that's where I kind of felt the disconnect. And what I did was I just happened to meet an Indigenous guy here in Maple Ridge, and then he introduced me to some other Native hockey players, and that's how I kind of created my own community. It's basically at the time, because when I was done that program, I was all on my own. And then it's hard to find your people. And if you don't find your people, like you get discouraged, you get lonely, and it makes you want to go home. Thankfully, I had hockey as an escape to help me withstand the hardships of first moving to a city. And if I didn't find a Native person, then I probably wouldn't be here, because like we're all people. We're all community based.
For sure.
Yeah. And in the white world, it can be so disconnecting, very disconnecting, and it's hard to create community. But unless you don't, if you don't know any of that, it's hard to even create your own community.
Yeah, like you don't even know how like to
Yeah.
think like, oh, I'm gonna go play hockey and maybe I'll meet some native people. You know, like if you don't play hockey, like you wouldn't even think like I'm gonna go do something. Maybe I'll meet some native people. And also you mentioned friendship centers there and like native resources and stuff. And something I've noticed being like in the Indigenous nonprofit sector and just like even in college, whenever I was accessing some Indigenous educational supports, you know, like grants and, you know, getting free bus passes from employment centers and stuff like that. What I noticed amongst my non-Indigenous peers was that like people, even like when there is like an opportunity for them to just get something for free that's really going to help them, like a free bus pass, like very reluctant to engage with nonprofits, like because it's just like not what they're, it's not like part of their, it's not like what they grew up with or like what they envision like for themselves. Like I feel, but like with Native folks, I feel like it's so normalized. Like, oh, you just go to the Friendship Center, you know, like, oh, even if you're not there to like receive supports, you're just there for like the Thursday night family powwow or the drum circle or like the ribbon skirt making workshop or something like that. Like those things like just seem to be so much more approachable to my to my Indigenous friends whenever I would like ask them if they wanted to come along with me. Did you find that in your experience as well? Like that non-Indigenous people just don't see themselves like accessing nonprofits like in the same way Indigenous people do? Like we like, you know, like you just like recommended like go to the Friendship Center, right? But like I feel like I don't hear my non-Indigenous friends saying stuff like that. Like, oh, just go to the community center, like you'll make some friends, you know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah, no.
like it's like a different vibe, you know?
Yeah, it is a different vibe. I feel like, well, I think my mom used to go to the Friendship Center a lot, and I heard that a lot. So it's like, okay, you can go to the Friendship Center, like you said, get a free bus pass. But there is people who don't often get that support that they don't even ask. Yeah, and you have the non-Indigenous people. I don't know, they don't seem very community-based. And from experience just experience of friendship centers, like I remember before I left the reserve, I did research on Maple Ridge because I knew I was coming here. The first thing I was trying to find was like an arena, like to ground me. Because if I didn't find something to ground me, or community as you would say, it would be hard. But asking for help is different, and when it comes to non-Indigenous people, it kind of doesn't feel genuine, or like if you like, I don't even know like what I'm trying to say with that part there, like the non-Indigenous people.
Like it doesn't feel authentic?
Yeah, like, you know, like at least when I moved here, like we're all crowded in houses on reserve, and when you come here, everybody's too busy to even spend time with each other. That's what I feel like it is. It's like you're always too busy to do something. On reserve, we do nothing, and that's all we do is spend time together.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that is definitely a big difference. It feels like in the city, there's definitely like everyone has like their own schedule, like places that they tend to be, and you know, it's like there's so many people in the city. It's like you don't even need to plan to meet people or to bring people to the place you're going. It's like there's probably going to be people already there. You know what I mean? And it's like you're bringing less of your people around into that thing. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That makes sense. And you know, like with the crowded homes, I feel like that's like one of the difficult things to sometimes get across to non-Indigenous folks is that like there is overcrowding, and yes, overcrowding has its negatives. But I do feel like my reservation and my reserve and other people I hear coming from the res, like they don't really like see it as like a deficit, like see it as like a negative. Like of course it's like, you know, it'd be nice if we all had our own room and stuff like that, but I feel like people like genuinely like enjoy being around everyone so much because like you just kind of get used to it. And like
Kind of no choice.
yeah, it's like it's no choice, but like you figure out how to like enjoy yourself in that chaos and less privacy and stuff like that, to where like then when you come to the city, it's such a contrast, right? Like you have so much personal space. There's so many quiet nights. There's so many people who are busy, wrapped up in their own things. You know, they don't have free time like they do on the res to come hang out with you, go fishing, go like hang out at the spot or whatever. And it's like, it's definitely not an easy thing to like build that community amongst like in the city, like and it's something that I've noticed even amongst like my Indigenous peers too. It's like we work so hard to build community when we move into the city that when other people do it, it's like those Indigenous youth don't always look to their peers who are looking to build community and like invite them in, right? It's like, well, I'm like caught up doing my own stuff, you know what I mean? And you know, I think that what's really special about a project like the Ballantyne Project is that you folks are not only creating a space for young Indigenous people to leave the res and have an opportunity to see the city, you know, get those initial feelings out of the way, or at least in the forefront, so we can understand them more. But also that community of like, you know, there is young Indigenous people here in the city, and there is people looking out for you, you know, but like you do have to find it, you know, and like one of the things that I always like think back to was whenever you were telling me about how your program is so amazing that some reses actually think it's fake. Do you remember that? You told me that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you see the picture, it looks fake.
It looks fake.
It looks fake.
That's so funny.
Like you see it on Facebook. You think it's a scam. Like it's too good to be true. But when you're in here, you're like, holy shit! Like it's hard to describe the feeling when you're in here. For sure. And the whole goal behind the Ballantyne Project was the grand vision, to have a space where youth feel seen, heard, safe, and, you know, just having a place to sleep. And that was the whole goal of the Ballantyne Project, was this. We were doing trips in Vancouver for a week, but the kids would stay in hotels, and, you know, the community, I guess you could say, would drift off into their own rooms.
Right.
Yeah, and when you're here, when they're done doing an excursion, like, I don't know, going for a tour at KPU or Capilano or a trade school, like, we provide community, basically. We have this house, of course, it's just us two in here, but...
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, we wanted to create a safe space. Community, basically, is what it is. So, and that's what we wanted to do. I still can't believe it happened. Like, I still can't believe we have this. You know, like, you know, I often, when I see the youth come here, I'm like, you kids are spoiled. I wish I wish I had this when I was younger.
Yeah.
But to be the one behind it and helping, well, you know, this was the actual goal. And yeah, it's pretty amazing, I guess. I don't like to toot my own horn, but I don't like to post stuff on social media. I'm a very private guy, but sometimes maybe I don't look at myself too long, or maybe I forget where I come from or where I'm going, to actually take a moment and think, you have the Bridge House for youth. Like, I wish every community had this. So some kids don't have to leave the reserve. And some people are already saying, can you start this in Alberta, Saskatchewan? I'm like, can we just focus on this one right now? We're not even a year in and we're trying to focus on this one. So I get really overwhelming requests from communities Some people think it's fake, some people believe it, but at the end, it does feel like it's too good to be true. And I feel like that's, at least if I seen it on the internet, I feel like it would be too good to be true, and it's fake, because if you see the picture, it looks fake. It looks like a AI picture or something.
Yeah. What is this scam, trying to scam my youth out of their money? And so, like, walk me through the youth experience. So how does one hear about the Ballantyne Project?
How does one hear about the Ballantyne Project? I feel like we have quite a big following on Facebook. A lot of kids use Facebook on reserve because that's their means of communication. But we're a big organization, but we're not big. There's a lot of people who don't even know about us. But I feel like word of mouth from community to community excelled our reach, basically. And I feel like that's basically where it comes from. We have our own website. I'm very bad at social media. I don't promote the Ballantyne Project as much as I should. But yeah, it's just, I don't even know. Like,
They just figure it out.
yeah, like they figure it out and they hear about it, and sometimes we get a message from some individual kid, and it's like, okay, well, he believes it's real, like that's cool. Yeah, but word of mouth is what I feel like it is.
Yeah, because for a while, like before you had this house and stuff, that's pretty much what you were doing, right? Like you were driving nation to nation.
Not driving nation to nation. I was being invited to nations.
Okay.
Being invited to nations, most of my work revolved around the school system in the cities. So, like, I wouldn't go into a community and speak to youth, but I would get invited to, like, just go visit, I don't know, the community, because they just, okay, you're doing great work. You want to come visit? I'm like, sure, okay, I'll do that. But I wasn't, like, presenting. It was just,
I see. You weren't like going to like pitch them or anything. You were
No,
just going
no.
to visit. Oh, okay, I see.
No, I don't do that. That's a white man's game. No, I was just like, from the outside, as a Ballantyne Project, we are here to support your youth. If you want to work with us, great. But yeah, going back to, like, going to reserve, people think we're going to steal money from the band. Like, I'm already getting, like, it's been a thing since I started speaking. People kept saying, oh yeah, he's visiting communities, stealing money from the bands. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing. No, not at all. But yeah, I don't know.
I see. Yeah, people just get defensive, right? Like so protective of their community, right? They just see like somebody who's not from their community coming here, and they're like, they want to protect what's theirs, and it definitely comes back to about our communities like in a state of healing, right? Like we don't want our communities to be healing anymore, and so it's like we become very protective, and like even amongst ourselves sometimes pushing out other Indigenous people out of fear, right? That they might do something wrong to us and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so through just like essentially word of mouth and like building goodwill with people and stuff, like you folks have just kind of found yourself in like a sweet spot of like enough people knowing who you are and like having the passion to do this stuff. And like, how does one get to like, we have this vision, we want to like do these we see you trips, because of all the things that you've talked about in this podcast. How does one get money to do something like this? For the young people listening to this story, they're like, wow, I want to be like Dwight. Like, how the heck do you get money to do stuff like this?
I ask myself the same thing every day with my BC mother. How do we get money? We never gotten a grant, not once. We've written for many of them. I think it stems back to basically where it stemmed to sharing my story. And I've always promoted an idea like this. I didn't think it was possible. But it started off like maybe 4 years ago with a radio interview. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just sharing my story, but people kept saying, what can we do to help? What's your 5-year plan? I'm like, I don't have a plan. Like, it's a white man thing, you know? I'm like, I'm from the res, we don't plan shit, we just do it.
That's funny.
So yeah, getting money was the biggest problem. COVID helped us with CERB a little bit. If it wasn't for CERB, we wouldn't be here, to be honest. And that expanded us across the country. And people like, I guess it's just the small people that hear the story and share it to people, and word of mouth, and then it heard, like, I know what I want to do, but I know I can't do it. So I did a radio interview, and then somebody heard, you want to bring kids out? Here's money. I'm like, okay,
whoa.
Yeah, like I basically, we know what we want to do. We're not asking, but this would be cool if we could. And then from that radio interview, somebody said, okay, we love the cause that you want to do. I'm like, okay, well, here's money. So like I just kept telling the story. I was never asking for money. It was always just, you know, I want to share the opportunity here. Like my presentations are talking about opportunities here. If there was some cool miracle, it would to bring kids to Vancouver for a week and let them explore tours of schools, colleges, universities, go touch the ocean, go Granville Island. That's where it happened. And then I guess word of mouth again, like it happened organically. I didn't ask for it. It's just a radio interview. And then somebody was like, hey, here's 20 grand. And then telling the same story on a different interview. Okay, here's 5 grand. And I'm like, shit, this is actually working. It's scary. But then, long story short, it was reinforcing the vision of the Ballantyne Project. Before we got the house, we would still continue to do trips in Vancouver with the youth, because that was it's what we do. And I don't know how this happened. Like, very serendipitous moments of meeting the right people, you know, like yourself, who believed in a vision, and then it just came together to what it is now. So it was just not asking for money. It was using my story to help youth. And then I think the universe answered, and YVR said, here, make it happen. Here, make it happen. So yeah, when we say I ask myself, where am I going to go next from here? I'm like, I don't even know. Like it gets scarier the bigger you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it was just reinforcing the same story.
Yeah, for sure. And so you have this home. The Ballantyne Project is given the resources to bring youth here for an extended period of time. And what can you kind of like help the viewers understand what the journey is for the youth once they're here? Like what kind of things do you do with them, and what's kind of their experience throughout the process?
When they get here, it's always cool to see them when they get here. They don't believe it's real. But then when they're here, they're always quiet and shy, of course, the first time they get here. So we just introduce ourselves, give them a tour of the place, and slowly just warm up with some food and get to know them a little bit and let them relax, because sometimes they come from very isolated communities. Sometimes they're on the plane for like 5 hours. So like, okay, well, you get here, you arrive, and we introduce ourselves. You get to relax, and the next day, you know, we'll plan it all out. Like we're doing like 7-day trips. Now they're going to be 10-day trips. So that's very confusing, but we're still in the beginning of it, so we're still making this work. So sorry for the confusion, but what you can expect is a safe place to stay, you know, safe place to stay, and we'll show you opportunities of, schools, colleges, universities, trade schools, piping, welding, job shadowing, other jobs. Basically a lot of tours, and fun stuff too. Like, and it's not only all education. Like, you get to come here, you get to learn how to navigate the city, you get a bank card, You know, you can get the eye exam, dentist appointment, get a credit card, fix your debt, learn about financial literacy, and yeah, go touch the ocean. Like, we mix it up with educational pieces to life skills and just some fun. That's basically what you can expect. And yeah, that's the premise of what it is right now, but it always looks different.
And like how would you describe like the youth coming through here? Like kind of like what are they like?
The first day they're quiet, and then they're shy, they get here, and then the next day they're warmed up because we get to know them a little bit, and they open up. Like, the beauty of being in this house is, like, when we were doing trips in Vancouver, they would all go to their room at night. Here, like, there's a lot of rooms here, of course, but everybody just goes to the table. Like, it's just the table outside or the island. Like, it's an awesome feeling. It's cool to get to know the kids. You know, of course, there's always those shy kids that don't talk at all, but those who talk, like, you get to know those kids in like 7 days. You get to really know them. Like, not only kids who came to this house, but we still keep contact with kids that we were doing trips before. So we follow up with them. And some of the kids that come out have been on multiple trips. I think just it's really lonely in here because it's just us two right now, but having the kids here, it's nice to see people in here, especially your own people. I will say that. You know, they come here and they speak their language. I'm like, wow, it's good to be having community. So the kids get to have their own community, play game, cards, watch TV, I don't know, do anything, have a hockey net outside. Yeah, it's just I can't describe the feeling of seeing them in here, but having people in here makes my heart feel good. And seeing the kids open up as the days go on, like, that's the best part. Like, you develop a relationship with them, build it, and then next thing you know, it's always sad seeing them go because you ask some of them, like, did you enjoy your stay? And like, some of them like get sad, like, I don't want to leave, I don't want to go back home. And I'm like, you have kids who want to go back home. Like, okay, this 7 days was too long, I got the experience, I want to go home. And you have kids like, I don't want to leave. And it's like, what do? You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah. Even like we held another a leadership trip from one of the communities in Saskatchewan. They came here, 12 of them, and there's a couple of elders there, like actual elders. And one of the elders she was playing, but she could barely walk. She made a joke, I wish I could fall down the stairs so I don't have to go back home. And it was just like, and they're like, I want to come back, I'm going to come back. I'm like it makes me sad. Also, it fills my heart, but makes me sad because you know what they're going back to. And like, that's what breaks my heart is, okay, it's sort of like a tease. You show them what is out there, and then they go back home, and it's like, I wish I could help every Indigenous youth coming from, in general, basically. Like, yeah, it's a good feeling, but kind of sad. I'll say that.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's like the name of this reconciliation work we do. I mean, it's like, it's always going to take some sort of emotional toll on us, even when you're doing the good stuff, because of what you're describing, right? Like, you know what they're going back to. Like, you've been there, you know the feelings that they're having right now, and you're just like, oh, I wish I could just take away their pain.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, like that. And like, because even though you get to know them for a couple of days, like, it feels like a lifetime when you get to know them. Like, it's not every kid, but there's a lot of kids that have been on these trips. We've been doing trips for the past 4 years before we got the house, and we've still received messages from those kids. You know, some kids graduate and they let us know, and like some invite us to their graduations because we, you know, made a dent in their life a little bit to show them what's possible, I guess, in that sense. And yeah, I forgot where I was going with that.
Oh, we were just talking about the way that these youth are feeling whenever they don't want to leave. You know, like we feel that, like we empathize with them, like we want to take their pain away.
Oh yeah, that's where I was. Yeah, so they go back home and we keep in touch with them. Some invite us to see them, but some send like messages that kind of rip out of your heart. Like, I'm not gonna say anything, but you know, you come from a broken home. I'm dealing with suicidal thoughts. Like, it's like, I'm not a mental health professional. Like, you know, like, it's hard to be in a relationship with these kids and get to know them, but there's sometimes it's like you get a message that, is this gonna be their last day? You know what I mean? Like, it's sad. And like, when they come here, then they leave. It's like, okay, you gave them a glimpse of happiness, some hope, and you just hope that they take away something that could inspire them to do something for themselves, you know what I mean? Because it's, you are right, there's good days, there's bad days, and it does take a toll on you. You have good days and you have sad days, and like, yeah, you said it perfectly.
And I think that's like one of the things that we are always going to be. It's like the burden of choice. It's like, you know, we can lean into the pain or we can like choose hope, right? And so I feel like that's like something that we're always trying to do in like the supportive sector, is like to instill that hope in people, you know? And I think what's really special about the Ballantyne Project is not only the amazing like premise of bringing people out of their community and like in their smaller cohort of people, but also like you have the time with them, longer than a week, about 10 days, to really like build that hope in them and like really show them like how capable they are and like how amazing they are. And, you know, I think it's one of those things, like it's hard work, but it's heart work, you know what I mean? Like it's genuine. And I feel like there's, despite how hard it is and, you know, how hard it can be to remain hopeful, I wouldn't envision myself doing anything else, you know?
Yeah, yes, that's, I say the same thing. I do now, like I just can't. Like yourself, you just can't. Like,
Yeah.
it's like me, like, I just can't stop speaking now. Like, I quit the Ballantyne Project. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, it's like, what are you gonna do?
Project a la Ballantyne. Yeah, new project.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, it could be heavy. It is heavy, but there are good days. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm always like optimistic, enthusiastic, have the enthusiasm to see where things might go. And because when, at least from my experience coming from nothing on the reserve to realizing what you have and what you can build, like I didn't know this was even like possible, but now that it is, like I want to let people know, like it's possible. Like if I can believe that I can step out of my comfort zone, you know, you can show others that they can too.
Yeah.
And if you could show that to youth, you know, and you look like them, like, you know, there's hope. Like people, like you, sort of like what you said, like there's bad days, but I like to look at the positive side of things. As hard as it is, how emotionally it can be, like I look at this place as hope, and I'm like, you know, if there's people like me and you making, you know, like making change in this white world, so can they. You know what I mean? Sure, it's a tough fight. It is hard. But, you know, believing in yourself is one of the scariest things you could ever do. And that was the scariest thing that I've ever did, was put myself out there and share to the world my story. But now I look back at that, I'm like, you know, anything is possible. It sounds cliche, but it's possible. Like Yeah, it's anything there.
Yeah. What would you tell like 17-year-old Dwight?
Sober the fuck up.
After that.
Yeah. No. Quit shacking up with your cousins. No,
It's a good start.
No, my 17 self, I feel like I was already past the thing of hopelessness of like, okay, even though you're 17, there are no jobs, but there is something. I know something's gonna come. And if I'm telling my 17-year-old self, like, don't stop believing. Because I didn't. I was like gonna make it happen one way or another. So I would say don't stop believing. Because that's where we are right now. Don't stop believing.
Just like that song.
It's our journey.
Yeah. For sure. I see. And so in, always believing in yourself, there comes a point where hard work is not enough, right? Like you could hit your head on the wall as much as you want in this direction, but you have to adjust. Did you feel like you experienced that in the creation of the Ballantyne Project, where you're like, I need to change how I approach this?
When in the beginning, I was just speaking. When things started rolling after the second year, that's when I had to learn how to be adaptable, how to be flexible, how to think like an entrepreneur. I didn't know any of those. I was just a beginner, just sharing a story, not knowing what was going to be. But I learned pretty quick, you have to adapt to change. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you had to describe that, like thinking like an entrepreneur to a young Indigenous person, comes from the res, doesn't have very strong financial literacy or like concepts of business or really understanding the scale of like what something like the Ballantyne Project costs to operate or anything like that, like how would you describe thinking like an entrepreneur to that person?
It's so hard to describe.
Right? It's
I know, because
I find so many of our young Indigenous people are passionate, right? So heart forward, right? Like, let's do this thing, public speaking like yourself. But then whenever they don't feel the enthusiasm from the people they're speaking to give them money, to, support them in their journey, it's like, oh, well, then these people don't care. It's like, well, no, maybe they do. We just need to talk to them like a business person so we could then unlock the dollars. You know what I mean? But like, to tell that to somebody who's so passionate and heart forward about their story, it's like, you want me to ask for money for my story? You know what I mean? Like, it becomes really weird to talk about the self-betterment of our society, of our communities, and then whereas like the root of money has been like really the reason why our communities are the way they are. And then to like ask for money as an Indigenous youth and thinking like an entrepreneur, like it's like a bias to overcome, at least for me, like the whole money conversation. Like, did you experience that as well?
Like when you have to ask for money to put yourself out there?
Well, ask for money, but then also like getting money for talking about like the res and reconciliation and stuff like that. Like, did you ever feel like there was like biases you needed to get over about money and stuff like that?
Well, money is a big thing. It could work against you or for you. And it's hard to explain to somebody what entrepreneurship looks like. Personally, for me, I don't like asking for help. But you have to be adaptable. You have to learn how to get out there, like my BC mother, teaches me things that I didn't know. Like, just reach out to them. Like, I feel like I'm bothering somebody, and it's like, no, like, this is what running a business is. You know what I mean? Like, I feel expected. Like, the things that I hated doing, I learned to love them. Some I don't love, but it needs to be done. And when you need to get money, it's kind of hard to let people know what you believe in and what you want to do and say, hey, can you give me money? Like asking for money is, I don't like doing it, but like, I don't know how you feel. Do you like asking for money?
I mean, I don't like asking for it. I mean, I think we're in bit different situations because like I run a consultancy and like yours is a nonprofit. So it's like for me, whenever I think of asking for money, it's like I'm giving something for somebody in return, right? It's like a very one-to-one transaction, right? Like I believe in my service to deliver the value that this person is giving me in money. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's like that belief and like confidence in my service, my product. However, like determining how much I would pay, charge somebody for my services, for example, that felt really weird because I was like,
it's still weird to me. Yeah, it's still weird to me.
Yeah, because like basically my training because I was like part of this community of entrepreneur coaches and stuff, and they were essentially like money is based, like value is based on emotion, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can charge really anything you want as long as the person is emotionally invested enough to understand the value of what you're offering and they'll pay you for it. So they were like, and really, they were like, they had this big thing on like, don't overthink your prices. But basically they were like, think about how much you want to work. So like, say you want to work like 7 days a week, 7 days out of the month. And then take your monthly salary, your monthly income, say you wanted to make $10,000 or something a month. Mm-hmm. Divide that by 7. I don't even know what that is. Let's say it's 10 days of the month just because I can't math. So I want to make $1,000 a day. So I need to work 10 days at $1,000 rate. And so they were like, there's your price. You're $1,000 and you just have to fill up your calendar for 10 days. And I was like, that's it? You know what I mean? And like, but now when I ask people for money, like, I think what I've witnessed is it's so true. Like, for example, like my day rate is pretty high. I'm gonna be straight with you. Well, you know this, you paid my day rate. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. This is so much more money than I've ever asked anybody ever for. But what I was assured of in my business training was that people who understand what you're offering are not going to care what your price is because they, just like you, have confidence in the value you're providing. They believe in the thing that you're offering. But until you actually witness that, you asking for the full price, mm-hmm. somebody seeing that, not asking you questions or giving you a hard time about the price, just paying for it, mm-hmm. you're like, oh my God, like people actually do, like the best customers, the people I want to work with do see my prices, not care about the price tag because they understand what's it's gonna do, right? But I had to like get the experience. I actually had to like be scared to ask for the money first and then get the money. And then I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? And now multiple people pay my day rate and they're happy to do it. On the contrary, there has been times, actually quite recently, as of like 3 days ago, I sent my quote to somebody and they were like, I'm gonna be straight with you, I didn't realize it was this high. I just can't get approved for that amount of money. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's cool, that's fine, but I didn't budge on the price because the way I see it is like, if somebody's unwilling to pay my prices, then that is signifying to me that they're not the person that I want to work with, right? They're not gonna be the person who really understands mm-hmm. youth reconciliation and stuff like that. And I feel like you've alluded to this a few times now. It's like, there's very few people in the space doing what we're doing. Like there's very few Indigenous educators. Mm-hmm. There's even very fewer Indigenous youth educators. People were talking about the young person experience and stuff like that. And so we really bring a perspective, not only that is, youth-centered for Indigenous youth, by Indigenous youth, and that's valuable, but also like the systems navigation around young Indigenous people and bringing that language that governments speak, the educational speak, bridging the gaps, that's highly valuable. And people who are unwilling to pay a premium price to have that broken down for them, in my opinion, are not the people that you and I need to be working with. You know, like the people who want to work with us are the people who have already done their readings, they've read the reports, they've read books, they've heard Indigenous leaders talk, they maybe have some engagement with the community, and they see our high prices and they're like, yeah, sure, for sure. Like, yeah, you've overcome so much to get to this point, happy to pay this price, and no questions asked, you know?
Yeah, some people see the value as to others, like, I'm not paying you that much. And it's like, well, you know, now that we're on this topic, like, you know, like if I go into a mental health conference, like if it's a white company, I'll ask for lots of money. But when it comes to like speaking for our people, when it's like, okay, I cost this much, and you're like, okay, I can't afford that. I'm like, okay, well, whatever you can give me, I will do it for you. Like, I'll do it for our people. But when if it's like government stuff or going into like conferences, I'm like, okay, well, this is my fee. Yeah. So if they say, okay, cool, like, and you said it, like, some people see the value and say, okay, cool, yeah, here's the amount of money. And you kind of don't want to undersell yourself to the white people, you know what I mean? Because you kind of want to do it. Like, personally, like, I just do it for fun because you got a lot of money, you got millions of dollars. What's X amount of dollars for me to speak to your workers? Like IKEA, like, okay, like they have millions of dollars. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to charge them large because that's IKEA. But they're going to take a lot away. Like, when I speak to people, I guess they feel guilty because they're settlers, you know what I mean? And there is good allies out there, but like, if you're not willing to pay for it, like you said, I can take my services to somebody who appreciates how much I've put in to get myself to where I am. Yeah, so that's perfect.
For sure. And it's like for the young people out there who are like coming into, into the city, thinking about entrepreneurship, and, you know, like we have so many like amazing entrepreneurs, like so many people who have skills, right? Like they can bead, they can make some sort of traditional food, they can prepare traditional items, things that people don't have access to in the city. So there's a market for them. However, there's around that idea of like, what is this actually worth, right? Like, you think of the res, maybe somebody who's always been on social assistance, to then tell them like, hey, actually the beadwork you make is worth hundreds of dollars. You know what I mean? Like, that can even sometimes be like, no, it's not. You know what I mean? This bead stuff, I just do this bead stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even realize the like amazing value that they're bringing by like being able to bring that traditional knowledge and like make amazing beadwork
or jingle dresses or all that stuff.
For sure. So it's like, what do you tell them in like working with money and like charging people for stuff? Like,
I would say know your worth, but it's very hard to know your worth when if you're on reserve, like, you can sell your beadwork or whatever, you name it, like, it goes on reserve already. People, they sell, like, some people know their worth of their product, I guess beading or whatever it is, jingle dresses, and some others are probably too humble to charge that high, if that makes sense. Because like, if I were to approach somebody, like, I'd be like, you should like do some research on how much that product is compared to other people. You guys are doing the same thing, like, because yeah, you're right. Like, if you're just, I'm beading for fun here, you can have this. I'm like, it's like, it's yours. You know what I mean?
Didn't this
like,
take you 10 hours to make?
Yeah, and that's like worth $500. Like, you just gave $500 away. Like, how do you tell a kid that, or somebody who doesn't know how much it is? Like, it's hard.
But I feel like that's one of the big benefits that you have here is like, you have the more than a week with these youth to like have multiple conversations with them about that kind of stuff. So do you find whenever youth come here and you're talking about entrepreneurship and stuff, that it's like an ongoing conversation throughout the whole trip? Or is it like a sit down? It's like, okay, you need to start making some money.
No, they're only here for 7 to 10 days, so we don't want to overwhelm them, but we do let them know that there will be financial literacy, and like if you do decide to be an entrepreneur, like there is things you need to know. There is uncomfortable things you might need to ask. You know, you have to go into the details of the money. Like I used to think like, I don't know, $50,000 was lots. Here in Maple Ridge, it's not. Like you have to be, if you want to do something like this, like looking at those numbers for this house, like it scares me. Like I'm like, how are we even running like this? Those are the biggest numbers I've ever seen. Like you have to be, like I'm not comfortable with looking at those numbers, I'll tell you now, but you have to be comfortable looking at those numbers. And if you gotta leverage it in a way and not burn yourself out or go in the hole so much that you can't do it. Yeah, so we don't overwhelm them. We do take them to a used car dealership to let them go see their car to like, okay, used car dealership, step in a car, come back. And the next day we'll have somebody from TD Bank to do a financial literacy. And believe it or not, that day is probably one of their best days. I don't know why. I thought people would hate looking at papers and learning about money, but because they've seen the car that they want, they're excited. And the person who comes here to teach them financial literacy breaks it down for them and shows them a tangible way to get there. And it's not like you're getting it when you come here. It's like just a general idea of how money works, what you can do with money and what not to do with money. Like I came out here in debt, like because I bought a cell phone and I did not pay the contract, and I didn't know what that little payment would do to me in the long run when it comes to learning about money. So I'm like, it'd be nice to let every kid know that comes in here, like, even though you missed that payment, that could ruin you in the long run. So learning about money is good and bad. But if you're gonna be doing what we do, like you gotta get comfortable looking at those numbers. Which I hate looking at those numbers.
Yeah, it's big numbers, yeah. I remember like whenever I was 21, I got hired in my first like career job, like in my field, I should say. I was working at Aboriginal Legal Services, and I was making $50,000 a year. And I remember thinking I was rich, dude. I was like, oh my God, 50,000, that's so sick. I'm so hyped, man. And then, yeah, like living in Toronto, you realize how quickly $50,000 salary gets eaten up, not only from income tax, but also from just living in an expensive city. And so anyway, yeah, like, you know, there's like a level of, big numbers when you leave the res, I'd imagine, do not seem so big in the long run. You know what I mean? Like, oh gosh, we're playing a whole different game nowadays. And and so in kind of less focused on like the business model of the Ballantyne Project, what would you want to tell nations who are thinking about sending some of their youth to the Ballantyne Project?
Say that again?
What would be something you'd want to tell nations who are considering a We See You trip for their community's youth?
One of the biggest things is that they worry about the youth and the safety, because when you go to a city, it could be good or bad. If you have a good support system, you'll be fine. But you see it, like people come to Vancouver because it's Vancouver, like one of the best places in the world. Little do they realize, like, if you don't find the right people to help you, you could end up on the streets. Like, it happens. You go to Vancouver, go to East Hastings, you see it. But coming here, like, the whole idea was to bring them here and to let nations know their youth will be safe. One of the things that we encourage is we invite community leaders to come see the place for themselves before they even decide to bring their youth out. That's one of the things that is working, because people, even though I've been doing the Ballantyne Project for 6 years, there's still a lot of people who don't know about the Ballantyne Project. So it's kind of like, yes, we are new. We've only been running this for like, I don't know, couple of months this summer. Like, come out and get a feel for it. See if it's real. And yeah, if you want to bring your youth here, like, this is a safe space. This is what it's meant for. It's meant for a safe space to make sure kids don't end up on the street or in a gang or anywhere else, because we want to keep them safe, and that's the biggest importance of letting the communities know. So we are working with some communities, but we're still new that there's so many other communities that essentially have the same problems and also need the same supports. And I know we can't solve every reserve, but helping, one youth is one of the biggest things that I always think of. If it's not always going to be all of them, but you know what? To the leadership, if you see this, Bailey can attest to it. It's a very wonderful place, wonderful feeling, and your kids will be safe, because that's the important thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, kind of like back to, high prices and stuff like that, like a big thing that I always say for business is like, I only work with people that are a heck yes. It's either like you're a heck yes or a no. And Dwight, the Ballantyne Project, everything the folks are doing over here, to me, is a heck yes. I feel like there's so much care that goes into this project. And I mean, if there's anything that I hope that people get from this podcast, it's that you are somebody who is putting your best foot forward and doing what you feel is best for the next generation. And, everything you do comes from experience. Like, you've been there, done that, and like, it's genuine. And I feel like that's why, well, I shouldn't say that's why, but this is one of the many reasons why you've had so much success, is because like you actually believe in what you're doing. And so people see that and they want to get behind people who believe in themselves and what they're doing. So, and yeah, I mean, like you're leading by example, right? So, so anyway, to also kind of help nations or communities in making this decision more, what is the next challenge, right? So they let's say they hear about it, like it's, they're worried about safety. You've clarified, you've demonstrated how it's safe. What is the next challenge to getting the youth here?
Like in what way?
Like
what
is it
challenge?
like in working? So I'm just thinking of like the journey, the timeline of like working with a nation to eventually them, or talking with a nation to them eventually sending youth here. Like, is it like logistics? Is it like, where's the money? Like, what's like the next challenge that you feel like you've seen?
Yeah, no disrespect to nations, but communication.
Communication.
Communication is the hardest thing.
Okay, like
Because-
ongoing communication?
Well,
I'll let you describe it.
well, like, I don't just call any band office. I call whoever wants to work with us. So one minute they're talking to you every day, then it's like you lose contact with them, and I don't know why. It's been like that with every community. Like, just, okay, we're all in, and then they're gone for like a week, and it's like, well, yeah. So, and I don't know. You call the band office, it's voicemail, and yeah, you try to call another department in the reserve because you're trying to talk to that one person. It goes to voicemail. Like, they never empty their voicemails. So
Empty your voicemail so Dwight can leave another one.
Yeah, exactly. I encourage that. So I think just the communication and the flights, getting the names of the people who are coming, because that's most of the kids don't have IDs. Some do, but some that come, like, okay, if you're picking this kid, can you please make sure they have an updated ID to get on the plane? Right. And then sometimes it's like, okay, we had to find another person because we found out that this kid doesn't have this ID. So it's like those little logistical things. It's like, okay, give us a name so we can book the flights. And then it's like, you don't hear from them, and it's like, you don't realize,
going up.
yeah, you don't realize the closer it gets, the expensive it gets. And I think that's just normal. Like, we've learned to work with that. We've learned to be patient, but sometimes it's like the business side of you is like, come on, man, we need those names, man. Like, for our sake, we need those names. And like, those little things. And then, depending on where they come from, they could be coming from up north from the island. They have to catch a boat to get to here. And then like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. So working with communities I love doing it, but sometimes it's like, can you communicate more with us? Like,
I see. Yeah. Keeping the momentum.
Basically, that's
for sure. That makes sense. And how many like communities would you say like you're talking to like on the reg?
We're working with a specific one right now. They're all in for what we want. No names though.
But you get interest like from across Canada, right?
Yes. We get interest from a lot of communities. Some reach out and some don't get back to us. And I would say right now we're working with 3 communities. One in Saskatchewan, one in Manitoba, and one here in BC. Because they've been here already. They know that it's a legit program. They know that there's safety here. Like, so, but as word goes out, like I can see us working with a lot more, because this is just the beginning, and the people who came out were the only ones who got to experience the house and visit us and stuff.
For sure. So to land the plane for us, Dwight, what do you want to say to the communities out there who heard this podcast and like, oh, like this sounds like so cool. Like, well, I wish I had something like this. I want to send my youth there. You know, they're interested in it. They want to get in contact with you. You know, like, what do you want to tell those communities?
Well, what do I want to tell those communities? That it is a safe place. It is real, and you know, we invite you guys to come here, to come see it for yourselves. I don't know how to explain this feeling of being here, but I'm gonna ask Bailey. Can you describe how it feels being in here?
Oh, yeah, it feels like I'm walking into a house with like all my cousins. Like growing up, I didn't really have many friends until like high school. Like, of course I had friends, but like not people that I would like hang out with like outside of school and, you know, do like fun stuff. It was always my cousins. And there's like a few uncles and aunties' houses where you go and like there's always like fun chaos, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, you know, young kids, your peers doing fun young kid stuff, jumping in the pool, you know, running around the basement, you know, WWE off the couch. And while there's a lot less chaos in here, because we're obviously working with older teens here, it's the same vibe of like, you can just kind of come in and just like be your kooky self. And it's inviting. Nobody questions the way you are. The food is delicious. And like, it's just like, it's also like, just practically speaking, the ceilings are high. There's a lot of open space. Like it doesn't feel cramped in any way. And despite there being a lot of people and commotion around here. And so like that felt really good. And you know, like you were mentioning earlier, kind of like how the youth in the previous WeCU trips, when you'd go into hotels, they would leave the group and go into the hotels. Here, we had done a workshop in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we were just training some Muay Thai. I was teaching them just some like basic combos and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we were out in the front. They were smashing pads. I was teaching them some pointers. But then we also had some youth off to the side, like strumming the guitar and stuff. And I feel like those are like the moments that surmise like all the Ballantyne Project work. You know, it's like we do this workshop, you know, we plan all this stuff to bring this youth together. But like where the magic happens is like when we're all vibing, we're sharing skills, you know, I'm teaching them how to do some basic offensive fight combos, and then there's some youth sharing their talents with music. I'm talking with some of the other youth about their jam business and like how they need to charge more, you know, and like that's like all the work goes into those moments where the youth come up to you and like, hey, I have this jam business. What do you think? You know what I mean? And that's like when it all becomes worth it. So, you know, like you can tell that you and Denise and the team, all the people you folks work with, put in so much effort knowing that that's the goal, to like build a connection with these youth so that they give themselves to the process and like commit to it and trust you and your vision, and then by extension trust in themselves, build that confidence and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, so I would say that's the feeling, you know. The feeling is like you're walking into your auntie's or uncle's house with like a lot of your cousins, and you're all there to just like have a good time and just kind of be. And while there is programming and stuff like that involved, it's all delivered in a very natural way, which is, I feel, why, or one of the reasons why the youth feel so comfortable here.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that. So.
Yeah. Pay Dwight, hire him to do some stuff for you. Like honestly, I fully endorse this, the Ballantyne Project. I think they do amazing work, and I wouldn't spend time with a company if I didn't truly believe in them. And I fully support everything you folks do, and it's so innovative. Like nobody's doing anything like Dwight is doing, and so yeah, I'm so glad that we connected on LinkedIn. What was it, like a year ago when we first met each other or something like that?
Basically,
yeah. I remember. So like Dwight and I met because, or I shouldn't say met, but our first interaction was you had sent me a poster, and I put it in like one of the company I work for's newsletter or something like that, and like that was like really the start of it. You know, like so. Like it, you know, it doesn't have to be grand, not like some amazing thing needs to happen or stumble upon to like meet Dwight. It's like, just reach out to Dwight, just send him a message, say what's up, and, you know, just see where it goes, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's basically what it is. I'm just as normal as I can be, and yeah, I'm just an email away, basically.
For sure, man.
Yeah, that's...
Speaking of emails, can you drop your socials, let people know where to follow you?
We do have a website that's not updated, but it still shows what we do. It's called the Ballantyne Project. Yeah, our email is the Ballantyne Project at Gmail. We have our Facebook, which is majority of our following when it comes to working with First Nations. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, but you're on other platforms, but Facebook's like your main thing.
Facebook's the main thing. That's because most of the kids on reserve, that's how they communicate with us. Yeah, we have other platforms like LinkedIn, but that's professional. When it comes to working with First Nations, Facebook seems to be the most accessible way to communicate.
Yeah, makes sense. Alrighty, so you heard it. Go follow him on Facebook. Reach out to Dwight. Come check us out over at the Frayed Feathers podcast. We got a bunch of other videos and hope to bring you more interview styles like this in the future. Miigwech.
I want to say thank you very much, Bailey, for having me on here. This is my first podcast I've ever did, believe it or not, and it was quite interesting. I want to say thank you for coming over and visiting us and giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about the Ballantyne Project, and I'm sure we will be working a lot together.
For sure. My pleasure, brother. Peace.